Great to meet you, Rabbi. How are you?
Thank God.
Good.
Enjoying the holiday.
I'm pleased. I was really excited to do the interview today, and I know that from what I've seen of your work, and I know Rabbi Yesef talks about the fact that you often talking about joy and the essence of it, and I would love to discover and talk through some of your philosophy on joy, especially from the idea of whether it's something that we can create in our lives, or if it's something that when we drop out of the narratives of the mind and we drop into the consciousness within ourselves, whether it's something that we actually naturally exude when we connect with Hashem and with life itself. But I'd like to start just at the beginning, really, and discuss and hear from you about what joy really is. Like when people mention joy, like what is joy?
Down to basics. I like that.
Come on, let's start there.
What is joy?
Yeah.
Joy and sadness are best described as dispositions, not emotions, maybe not even feelings, but dispositions. There are people who are disposed towards feelings. They will feel grief, they will feel joy. And there are people who are not disposed towards feelings. So they will not feel grief and they will not feel joy. So a person who is happy is disposed, willing to experience feelings, emotions. A person who is sad is indisposed to any feelings. He won't even feel grief because he's emotionally shut down. Grief is a real emotion. It's alive, it's intense. It's got a lot of energy, so much that you can't sleep. Sadness has no energy, and all you want to do is sleep. So you can't really say, I feel sad. You don't feel sad. You feel nothing, and that's sad. So happy would be, I'm willing to feel. Suggest an emotion, and I'm ready. So if something tragic happens, I will deeply feel the grief. And by the same token, if something good happens, I will be thrilled. So it's really a disposition towards emotion. Now, what controls that valve? What controls that disposition? Actually, what you think of life. So it all begins in the head. Here's an interesting way. Does happiness bring optimism, or does optimism bring happiness? Obviously, if you're a happy person, you're going to be more optimistic. Also, if you're an optimistic person, you're going to be happy. So, what's the cause and which is the effect? I think optimism brings joy, not the other way around. Because if you're not optimistic, then your joy, whatever it is going to be short lived. You'll find a cause for joy, but then an hour later, you'll find a cause for misery. But if you're optimistic, you're much more steady, consistent in your disposition. So let's make a distinction between emotions, feelings, and disposition. Like, is fear an emotion? If it's a response to a person, then it's an emotion. If you're afraid of thunder, it's a feeling, not an emotion. So emotions properly applied means a reaction to another conscious being. You can love God, it's an emotion. You can love your neighbor, and an emotion. You love chocolate, it's not an emotion. It's good taste. Emotions have to be shared. I love someone who can love me back or hate me back, but I can't love a tree. I can hug a tree, but I can't love a tree. I can enjoy a tree, which is a feeling, but it's not an emotion.
Can you not love the soul of the tree? In the Hashem and spirit is all pervading. That everything is consciousness, and to see life as this beautiful
Right.
whole. What would you not derive a great sense of love for being alive itself, for life itself, and being in relation with it?
It would better be described as pleasure than emotion.
Okay.
You can get pleasure from chocolate, you can get pleasure from a tree, but you can't love the tree. Love should be much more personal.
But if you're seeing Hashem in everything, then how can you not love everything?
Right, right. If it's really Hashem that you're seeing,
Sure.
and not the god of fertility that makes plants grow. If it's God, yes, God you can love because he can love you back.
Hmm.
He can also hate you. He can also hate you back. That's an important condition in love. If you will not love unless you are sure, guaranteed to be loved back, then you're not loving. Real love is a bit of a risk.
Hmm.
So it has to be loving someone who could love you back, but no guarantee. They may hate you back. Now that's real love. So that's why people say, after the Holocaust, for example, I hate God. That's a good relationship. That's real.
I wanted to ask you a question on what you said before about joy and allowing yourself to experience all of the emotions. Because I often talk to clients about this, that especially in the Western mindset, we have a habit of labeling happy as good and sad as bad, or whatever it is, and we chase certain positive emotions and we run away. By doing that, we actually compress them within ourselves and we create neuroses and issues and all of these different things. How would you suggest people can start living, having a better sense and relationship with the full spectrum of their emotions?
Okay, so let's get into a heavy topic.
Sure.
All of our problems begin when we feel needy. If I need love, I'm in trouble. If I need happiness, I'm in trouble. If I need a friend, I'm in trouble. Because neediness is the beginning of all of our miseries. And the reason for that is, let's get a little mystical here. The reason neediness gets us into trouble is because our needs are not real. Here's something you might want to try because I think it's the future. Since the beginning of time, human beings have been motivated by need. You need to build a house to have a roof over your head. You need to have what to eat. You need to be secure. You need to protect yourself from wild animals and from the elements. In order to have what to eat, you need to plow the field in the right season at the right time. You need to milk the cow. You need to keep the cow healthy. Without that cow, you're going to starve. So everything we accomplish, every step of progress was motivated by need. And what is the ultimate need? To survive, which means not to die. As we became more sophisticated, we discovered more needs. It's not enough to have what to eat. You also have to have inner peace. You have to fight your inner demons. And the deeper we got into psychology, the more needs we discovered. You need to make peace with your mother because she never wanted to have you. You need to stop being jealous of your siblings because it's eating you up. You need to get over the vendetta that you've been carrying around for your neighbor. It just goes on and on and on. Religion comes along and adds a whole new set of needs. After you die, you're going to have needs. You're going to be in trouble then too. It's gotten too much. Too much. We can't handle so many needs. But it's not because there are too many of them. It's because none of them are legitimate. So here's the real solution to all of our problems. I don't need anything. Nothing I don't need, period. Because I didn't ask. And the reason I didn't ask to be born is because I don't need to be born. So all of a sudden, the threat of dying has gone away.
Mm.
You can't threaten me anymore. Your biggest weapon, gone. So I have to get up and I have to go to work. Why? You want to die? Not working anymore. We are not willing to live life in order to not die. There's something wrong with that equation. So, for example, I need to eat. I need to sleep. No, I don't. No, I don't. Well, if you don't sleep, you're going to get sick. Okay, stop threatening me. I don't need to sleep. I can't go without sleep. That's true. But it's not my need. I need it like a hole in the head. I'd be much better off if I didn't need to sleep. So I didn't do this to myself. I didn't ask for this. I didn't sign any agreement. I don't need it.
It sounds like a profound sense of non-attachment and yeah, almost enlightenment.
The question is, what's the alternative?
Sure.
Because if I don't need to live, I sound suicidal. But it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Today, when young children refuse to clean up their room because I didn't ask to be born, they're not depressed and they're not suicidal. They're precocious. So if your child ever says to you, I didn't ask to be born, don't get them into therapy. Admit that you didn't ask to be born either. So what do you want from me? I didn't ask to complain to Bubby. And if you ask Bubby, she'll say, I didn't ask to be born either. It turns out that in reality, simple, basic reality, I don't need to be here. Like the guy who was suing his parents for giving birth to him without his consent. What he demands is that they should pay all his bills for the rest of his life.
I think I saw that one.
He's onto something. If I didn't ask to be born and you went ahead and gave birth to me, how do I end up with bills? How is it my job to do anything when I didn't sign on? I didn't agree to be born. I didn't ask for this. I didn't no oral agreement, no document, no nothing. And all of a sudden, I have to go to school and I have to get a job and I have to pay a mortgage. Oh, you want to die? Don't threaten me. Because when you threaten me, it means you've run out of an argument.
Do you know?
Now let's apply that to religion.
No, I was just going to ask. Please.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to ask before we go into the religious aspect. Like, do you not think at the level of soul that we do thirst for incarnation?
The level of what?
The soul that we thirst for incarnation.
Yeah. Actually, if you were to ask the soul whether it wants to be born, it would say no. It protests. It is born against its will. So let's use a simple example. A boy goes overseas to a yeshiva, comes into the dean's office, and he says, I need to call my mother to tell her that I arrived. Which phone can I use? The dean happened to be a very profound Hasidic individual. And he said, you need to call your mother. The boy said, yes. He said again. Actually, he said, I need to call my mother. The boy said, yes. He said, not true. Tell the truth. The boy thought about it and realized what the dean was driving at. And he said, my mother needs me to call her. Which phone can I use? And the dean said, now you're talking. You don't need to call your mother. Why are you calling it your need? It's her need. If it were your need, I would tell you to go find a phone and help yourself. But if it's your mother who needs you to call, I will help you find the phone. Because if you're doing what your mother needs, that's noble. You're doing what you need? Well, good luck. Find a phone. We claim needs that aren't ours. I don't need to eat. I didn't design myself that way. Not my idea. I would love to stop eating sometimes. And I can't. So, first of all, it's not a need, it's a handicap. And second of all, it's not mine. Not only didn't I do this to myself, I never agreed to it. So, why do I eat? Because God designed me dependent on food. He needs me to eat. I don't know why, but it's certainly not my idea. So it's kind of a form of plagiarism. It's his need, but I claim it's mine. And that's where I start suffering. That's where all the happiness goes out the window. I need. I need to eat. But then I'm going to need to sleep. Then I'm going to need to get up in time to go to the job that I need, to make the money that I need, to buy the house that I need. That's it. I quit. Too much already. Imagine if people woke up in the morning all over the world and realized that they don't need. The religious grandfather says to his grandson, "Wake up, you'll be late for the meeting." He says, "I don't want to." Grandfather says, "You have to." "I have to?" Imagine the grandson says, "I thought about it and I've come to the conclusion that I don't have to. I don't have to." "No, no, you have to. You have to go. You have to do the mitzvah. You have to be religious. You got to be frum. You got to. You need to. You must. You have to." The kid says, "No, I don't need to. I don't have to." Where is the conversation going to go? Inevitably, you want to die and go to hell? You want to suffer when you die, and that's where the child says, "Okay, now we're down to the threats. So you've run out of weaponry, basically," which means you're agreeing that I don't have to. So in this conflict between the grandfather and the grandson, who's right? So most people will say, "No, you don't have to be religious. It's not like you have to eat. Eating is a real need. Religion is not. It's optional." No, you need both if you don't want to die and suffer. Exactly the same thing. There is no more reason to eat than to be religious. Or is there? Okay, so practically speaking, psychologically speaking, if we can convince people you don't have any needs, why are you so burdened? You don't need, and particularly today, I need a safe place because there's a microaggression coming my way. You don't need a safe place. The microaggression won't do anything to you. You don't need. Why are you convincing yourself of more and more needs when you really don't need anything? So relax. Not your problem. Then the question is, then why live at all?
Hmm.
So it turns out, and this is without religious belief, without any mention of God, the human being doesn't have needs. The human being is needed.
Wow.
I don't want to fulfill my needs. I just want to know that I am needed. Which means basically I'm not here for me. For me, I don't need this. But if I am needed, I will rise to the occasion. A simple example, if I'm home alone and it's lunchtime. What am I going to eat? Whatever I find in the pantry. I'm not going to cook up a meal. It's just me. But if you're coming over for lunch, I'll make a feast. Because my needs are minimal. But if you need something from me, it's a bar mitzvah. It's a celebration. So I'd much rather be needed than love. I'd much rather be needed than be needy. If I know that I am needed and I know what I am needed for, I have no further. That's it. My life is wonderful.
So incarnating itself is the greatest act of service.
And being of service is all I need.
I really love that. That's very powerful.
I think this is the future of psychology.
Yeah.
We have to stop focusing on how profound our needs are because they're not. They're not.
Rabbi Friedman, if I can just come in, is what you're saying in terms of I'm here to serve others and not the other way around, is that, how would you relate that to humility and arrogance? Is that the same thing?
The Hasidic concept of humility is that I am not here for myself. Humility doesn't mean I think I'm stupid. That's just stupid. If you think you're stupid, you probably are. That's not humility. That's arrogance because you're so focused on yourself. Like, nobody is just plain stupid. I'm so stupid. See, I'm not just your ordinary stupid. Don't dismiss me so easily. I am the stupidest person in this whole room. I am so stupid you won't believe it. That's such arrogance. I have a problem nobody understands. Nobody. Stop being so arrogant. You got the same problems everybody has. You see how as soon as the subject is me, it's already arrogance. Real humility means, why are we talking about me? I'm great, I'm terrible. What's the difference? Why are we talking about me? That's called bittul. I am not the subject. I am not the issue. I am not the problem. Why are we talking about me? Am I smart? I don't know. What's the difference? Are we getting married or something? You're looking for a shidduch? What are you? It's funny. Only the person you're going to marry cares whether you're nice or you're not nice, you're smart, and they only care until after the football. After that, it doesn't make a difference anymore anyway. But you're right. Real humility means I'm here for someone else, not for me. Avraham Avinu was the healthiest human being on record. So when God said, "Can I ask you for a favor?" Avraham said, "Hineni." That is the healthiest response. Hineni means, yeah, I got nothing to do. You need something? Sure, I got nothing to do. Hineni means I am completely available because I got no needs. So if I can do something for you, please tell me. Bring it on. I've tried this many times, marriage counseling. And this couple, they're so vicious to each other. And they're brilliant at it in some twisted way. So they both come. And I say, that is the best comedy show I've ever heard. You guys are so funny. I said, what? Listen to yourselves. You're hilarious. You make up stuff. You get upset about stuff. You care about things you don't even really care about. What are you doing? It's so funny. You could have a good life together, but no, you don't want. You want to look for problems. You want to be able to complain. You want to be able to curse and blame. What are you doing? It's funny. It really is funny because none of it is legitimate. Many couples, because of the quarantine, who are forced to spend time together like never before, starting to like each other. Because all that foolish stuff. Why can't we go now? Why do we have to go here? Let's go there. You're not going nowhere. Now what? Why do you cook like this? Why don't you cook like my mother? It's starting to sound petty. And people are appreciating having each other. The rest is commentary. So I think we're moving in that direction. Literally, we've come to a point where the survival instinct is no longer governing us. In a sad, negative sense, we're seeing suicides like, like never before. Successful, healthy, famous people just call it quits. But that's because we don't have anything to replace our neediness. And that's because we have this crazy notion that our creator who created us doesn't need us. How's that for a twisted logic? The creator who created us doesn't need us. How did we accept that message for all these years? He created us, but he doesn't need us. You're going to worship a God like that? That's insane. So for thousands of years, we've had this whole thing backwards. We are needy. The creator doesn't need anything. Ever had anything so illogical in your? I didn't ask to be born, but I'm needy. God created the whole universe, but he doesn't need anything. It's so counterintuitive. Makes no sense. And it gets us into a lot of trouble. So when a person says, why should I be happy? The real answer is, why not? Why not? You're getting a free ride. And you are indispensable. Best of both worlds. I need nothing, but I am indispensably needed.
Beautiful.
Now that's starting to sound like a human being.
But when you say, being needed by Hashem, I can't help but feel this amazing sense of belonging and connection. And I wanted to ask you, tangibly, how people find more joy in their life. I guess, in essence, it's to find greater and greater ways to serve. Is that how you feel it? See it?
If I am indispensable, I can do anything. I mean, imagine a soldier who is in a critical forward position. The war now depends on him. Nothing is too difficult.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah, we're taking it in. We're taking it in. So let me ask you like this. What, on a practical level, you talk about people who are selfish, who are self-centered, who are needy. All they think about is their needs. How do you move away? How do you begin to move away from that, as you said, disposition to a more selfless, outlook of life? When you're so filled with your own needs and you're so self-centered, what are the practical steps that someone could take to change that disposition, which is one of the most profound dispositions available to man?
It's a very old habit. Very old.
Thousands of years.
Yes.
It's in the genes.
Maybe that's what happened when they ate from the tree of knowledge. They became needy. And we've been suffering from that ever since. I heard many, many years ago, some guy, professional, suggested that if you have a child who is OCD and they wash their hands 40 times a day, demand of them that they wash their hands 50 times. And they will turn around and say, no, I don't need to wash 50 times a day. You've opened the door to the cure. Oh, you don't need 50 times a day? How about 39? Will that do? No, it has to be 40? Doesn't make sense to him anymore. I think it's true with all needs. How much money do you need? No, you should have more than that. Whatever you think you need, no, you need more than that. And then they'll start arguing about how they don't need. Now you've got them on the right path. Get people to admit that they don't need and then chip away at their list of needs. Like what happened with this corona. People thought they needed entertainment to get out of the house. They discovered that they don't need it. Wow, what a breakthrough. Oh, so you don't need entertainment. How about travel? Do you need to travel? You need to go places? No, actually, I don't need it. How about school? You need to go to school? No. Children are discovering they don't need to go to school. They're smarter at home than they are in class. Do you need to go to work? Not if the government is going to support me. Handouts. I make more by not going to work than I do it at work. So all of a sudden, the world is open to the suggestion you don't need what you thought you needed. Can we continue Shortening the list. Do you have to have dinner at exactly 7:30? Do you have to have meat every night? In fact, do you need to eat breakfast? And you really can't function without 2 cups of coffee? Don't be so needy. Relax. I need my wife to respect me more. You need, that's why she doesn't respect you. Knock it up. The more desperate you are, the less she's going to respect
What? How do you translate? There's a lot of young people watching this show. How do you translate that into relationships and obviously a very Jewish value, timeless value of the importance of getting married?
you. Marriage is the setting, the venue for every virtue that you are capable of. No other relationship demands every virtue. So you can go your whole life and never be generous. If you're not married, you don't have to be generous ever. So you'll be generous when you're in the mood. If not, you won't. Marriage brings out the best in people because you become responsible for another person's needs, not your own. It's the only way to be sane. So there were people in the times of the Talmud, the Mishnah, who didn't get married because their passion was the study of Torah or the service of God. If that's your passion, then you'll get from your relationship with God everything you get from your marriage. So they didn't get married. And the consensus among the sages was that it's not a good idea. You have to find creatures your own size. Pick on someone your own size. You have to find someone your own size who you can serve. Serving God is easy. He's God, of course you're going to serve. But your wife, why would you serve her? Let her serve me. So by serving God, you haven't really tapped into your true virtue.
So, in other words, just to summarize, the parallel is the same in that a person gets married not to fulfill my own needs, but to serve someone else's, which is obviously completely antithetical to anyone's perception, most people's perception of marriage.
And then people say, the statistics show that married people live longer. And their explanation is because they have love in their life. I don't know which marriages they're talking about. Married people live longer whether they love each other or not. They live longer because they're needed. By at least one person. It's a very common thing. A woman who's frail and unhealthy and so on, and she doesn't die because her husband needs her. Not because she loves him, because he needs her. It's more powerful than love. That's why a person would much rather be needed than loved. Because to be loved and not needed, well, that's how you feel towards a pet. You can love your pet rabbit and don't need it, and the pet is content. But you say that to your child, and you're going to get a strong reaction. We don't need you, but we do love you. Mm-mm. I'm not your pet. I'm not a gerbil.
Would you say, again, following on from the theme, would you say that this profound desire, need to be needed, expresses itself sometimes in a corrupt way of seeking attention and seeking fame, seeking to be liked? We talk about social media. How does that seeking attention and fame relate to the will to be needed?
That's like a depressed person eating chocolate. You think chocolate is going to make you better? You think finding love will solve your problem? You feel unnecessary. Eating chocolate or being loved, pretty much the same. In fact, they release the same hormone, don't they? Not the solution. It feels like it might be a solution. But of course, all those who relied on it have been disappointed. Fame and wealth has never solved anybody's problem. Because they didn't have a problem to begin with. So let's get real. Just let's get real. This is not philosophical. This is not rocket science. It's just real. I put it a little differently. Go back 1,000 years. Father wakes up his teenage boy. Come on, we got to go to work. Why? Because it's almost the end of the season. We haven't gotten the seeds in yet. We don't get the seeds in, then when the spring comes, we'll have nothing to eat. We'll starve. We'll all die. So he jumps out of bed. He goes to work. If the cow dies, we will starve. That's all. That's our only source of. In other words, the threat of death was imminent. Yes. If we can't hold our farm, if we can't have our cabbage patch, we're going to starve. What do you say to a child today? You wake up a preteen, a 10-year-old. It's late. You're going to miss the bus. Why do I have to catch the bus? You got to get to school. Why do I have to get to school? Because you got to graduate and get into a good high school. Why do I have to go to high school? To get into a good college. Why do I have to get into a good college? Get a good job. Why do I need a job? To make money. Why do I need money? To buy a house. Why do I need a house? Well, you're going to live on the streets, you'll catch a disease and die. Oh, so that's why I have to get up today. It is so far, it is so theoretical. So imagine the father taking the shortcut. Get up and catch that bus. You want to die? Like what? It doesn't, it's not convincing anymore. Besides, nobody dies. You go on welfare. Also, everyone's going to die anyway, right? The whole thing it doesn't hang together. I should do everything I'm supposed to do so that I don't die. So life means don't die. It's not working. And the children are the first to notice it.
So, do you think that history is moving in the direction of such self-centeredness that at some point it collapses, and from that point on, people realize that they've been heading in the wrong direction,
Yes.
and maybe they turn around and they face a different direction.
Yes, our neediness is suffocating us. Can't take it anymore. And the reason is because it's not true. If we really were needy, we would handle it. But we're not. It's artificial. So the truth is this: I don't need to be here, but my Creator needs me. That's it.
Beautiful.
Do you think the world's ready to hear such a message?
I think they're, like you say, half the world is desperate to hear it. The other half is willing. You can't just say, no, you don't need that. That's dismissive. You're going to get a backlash. You have to empathize and then dismiss it. Remember this couple, the guy wanted a divorce desperately because he was so angry at her. What happened is that he invested all his savings in a business deal and it failed. He lost $30,000 and he was at the end of his rope. His wife, intending to be a good wife, said to him, "It's okay, it's just money." Now he can't look at her. He hates her for that. Now, why? What she's saying is correct. She's trying to be helpful. Why would he hate her? Because she said it too soon. First, she should have said, "Feels so bad. That is so painful. What a." But only money. Then he would love her. But she dismissed it before she sympathized. Now you're my enemy. I'm dying here, and you're dismissing it? Can't do that. So first you have to empathize. Like if you look in the Rebbe's letters, the English, people who pour their heart out to the Rebbe, they have a serious problem. So first the Rebbe says, be strong, hang in there, you can overcome this. And then said, and by the way, what are you kvetching about? Not even a serious problem. But first you have to empathize. You have to be on my side. If you're on my side, you can tell me I'm being silly. You can't just say you're being silly.
What would your, on a practical level, because we're obviously these are beautiful ideas and very inspiring, but in terms of connecting, let's just say with young people, for example, you talk about empathizing and then trying to sort of help them reframe their outlook. What do you say to young people who are particularly preoccupied, maybe even addicted to social media? What's how do you empathize, and how do you begin to turn them around?
You have a professional sitting right there. Why are you asking me?
Mark, you want to come in?
How do I? The people who are addicted to social media.
Yeah.
I guess it's asking them what it is they feel is being fulfilled by it when they're constantly like Pac-Man. I think it doesn't even stop with social media. I think that addiction, sex, drug, rock and roll, whatever we're doing, is to feel there is some form of void in us. I think it comes from when we're young, the whole socialization process is centered around getting affirmation from an outside source. Look, mum, I've done my homework. Look, I've done this right. Whatever it is, we're constantly, we need to look good in order to be attractive. We're always living outside in. And I think it ties back perfectly to what the rabbi was saying, is that the idea of feeling needed, feel that wholeness and that belonging, or inherently, without needing a like on Facebook, or to take drugs, or to do whatever it is for a moment of happiness, rather than feeling that inherent connection that we can then bring unto life, that we can serve from this position of belonging. And I have to say, the rabbi's blown my mind a bit today. It's been fantastic to hear you speak about this. That I just feel a huge connection coming in as soon as you talk about it. And I just think that's what it is. It's to help people find that sense of fullness and wholeness in themselves. And everyone's going to be an individual case, but to help them get a sense of that is paramount.
Where do you think, Rabbi Friedman, if you can come in, but just another question, which you can deal with too. Where does the solution come from? I mean, who begins to help people reframe, or change the tide in the opposite direction? Does it come from, I don't know, leaders, business leaders, social media, the people who run these social media organizations? Who triggers a change of direction?
It's got to be grassroots. It's got to be coming from everywhere. It can't come from one direction. So it's got to come from you. On these chats, on these format, these programs. That example of the boy who went to the yeshiva, and Reb Nissen said to him, "Ich darf. I need." Knock it off. So, because they respected him, he got away with it. It worked. But I've tried recently. I was talking to a kid who was telling me how severely addicted he is, and he can't, stop, and he can't. And I said to him, I asked him, what does he think of politics? He had some very strong feelings. What does he think of morality, racism? Very strong opinions. I said, I like you. You're a nice person. But all my life, I've been trying to avoid fanaticism. I don't want to become a fanatic, a religious fanatic. So I've been very careful to avoid. And so when I detect fanaticism, it really bothers me. Don't be so fanatical. The claim I'm severely addicted. You're a fanatic. Knock it off. Don't be a fanatic. So we had a good laugh, and it helped. So you can be a fanatic about almost anything. And sometimes when you put it that way, people can laugh at themselves. It breaks the grip.
So would you say fanaticism is connected with arrogance in some way? I mean, how would you describe the fault? In other words,
I think the right word is desperation. People become fanatical when they're desperate. It's an outlet for desperation. You have to kill all the infidel? Why? Why are you so desperate?
Would you say this plays out in the current political um, world with regard to being at polar ends, the polarization? Is that a similar idea?
It is a fanaticism that we haven't seen in a long time. Even about health, the fanaticism of the wearing the mask, not wearing the mask. Kill him if he's not wearing a mask. What is this? So I think there are two problems here. One is we don't know what we're needed for, so we're going to make something up in desperation. Secondly, we don't have a legitimate enemy. We are desperate for an enemy. We're not used to living in a world without an enemy. So since the Cold War ended, we've been looking for somebody to hate. And you add a little desperation, you get very nasty results.
So talking about hate, do we have to hate? And who should we hate? Who should that hate be directed towards?
In the world of neediness, which we're trying to get away from, but in that world of yesterday, where we were needy, one of the needs was an enemy. Because we had to have the contrast. I can't be right unless somebody else is wrong. I can't be good unless I find who's bad. So it's self-serving. It's not a moral indignation. It's part of the survival instinct, which we're hopefully outgrowing.
You mentioned
and that should be replaced with moral indignation. So what should we hate? We should hate things that are meaningless, purposeless, pointless. That's our real hate. Because we are essentially purposeful, we hate things that are purposeless. And that's why when you think that the world is out of control and things happen for no reason, that's going to destroy you. That's the one thing we really can't handle. Something happened for no reason, blows my fuse. I am here for no reason, can't take it. I actually did this ridiculous, stupid thing many, many years ago. A woman told me she's suicidal and she already has a plan how she's going to do it. I said, why? She says, because it's all meaningless. I said, all meaningless? Nothing means anything? Nope. I said, then why kill yourself? Sit quietly, you'll die eventually. What's the difference? It's all meaningless. Why does a person who feels meaningless need to kill? Because it goes against the grain. We are purposeful creatures. That's our truest nature. If I think I have no purpose, I can't stand existing. And that's been neglected for a long time. And religion is one of the culprits. How many times were we told, you're nothing, you're insignificant, you mean nothing, you're not important, behave yourself, maybe God will be nice to you. The message was loud and clear. You need everything, and nobody needs you. What a horrible message.
How would you suggest then, if this is so fundamental, again, on a simple level, on a practical level, how does one behave during the typical day at work, at home, to discover the ways in which they are needed? What do they do to begin to discover why
So
they're needed?
what I've been doing is agreeing with people that there are too many problems, too many problems, too many issues. It's so difficult to live today. It's so hard. Life has become impossible. And they, of course, agree. Then I introduce the idea. Maybe it's because we have too many needs. Maybe we shouldn't have so many needs. And then you peel away at that until you get them to where actually you don't even need to live. Well, if I don't need to live, why am I here? Bingo. Home run. The Rebbe gave this to us in a very convenient little package. Ani loy nivresi. I don't need to be created. Ella, why am I here? That's it. That's the whole story. You can close all the books and go home.
Which means to serve my Creator.